I know this might sound strange, but I feel completely desperate and don't know how to save my marriage. Here's what happened. My name is Aaron, and I've been married to my husband Jonathan for 10 years. Over the years, I've often made jokes at his expense, teasing him about things like his height, stamina, and, well, his size down there. For the most part, I kept these jokes between us, but in recent years, I've started making them in front of my friends when they visit. I enjoy the attention it brings me, though Jonathan has no idea I've been doing this. I know it would embarrass him terribly if he knew. One evening, I was out at a pub with my girlfriends. We were having a good time, laughing, and a little tipsy. I made a comment that I should get a guy on the side since Jonathan wasn't able to keep up with me. My friends laughed and encouraged me, with one of them, Lisa, even suggesting a guy named Stefan. Lisa, who's married to Mark, mentioned that she had already been with Stefan and that he was amazing. At that moment, I thought it might be a good idea. A few minutes later, a tall, muscular man came to our table, and I flirted with him a bit. He was very handsome. After chatting for a while, I left the group and went home. When I got back, the house was quiet and no one was around. I was so drunk that I passed out right away. When I woke up, everything was still silent and empty. I texted Jonathan but got no response. I began to worry and started calling around. When I called Michael, Jonathan's best friend, he answered and told me Jonathan had left the house and didn't plan on returning. He also suggested that I might want to go to Stefan instead, and then he hung up. I was confused. How did Michael find out what happened? I couldn't make sense of it. I kept thinking of different possibilities, but nothing seemed to add up. I never planned on being unfaithful, and I loved Jonathan too much to ever do something like that. I kept trying to reach Jonathan, sending texts and emails explaining that he misunderstood everything. I told him I loved him too much to hurt him, but I didn't get any response. Now, I'm at a loss. What should I do to fix this? Did you really think you could treat him however you wanted without facing consequences? Even if he hadn't found out about you flirting with others, your constant teasing would have driven him away eventually. It's incredibly disrespectful to mock someone you love, especially in front of others when they can't defend themselves. You need to stop chasing after him and give him space to process everything. Give him time to sort through his feelings. You should focus on understanding your own behavior and stop treating him like that. If I were in his shoes, I would have kicked you out. It's disrespectful to talk down to your partner in front of friends, especially when they can't defend themselves. Would you like it if he did the same to you? It's now been 2 days since I posted, and I finally heard from Jonathan. He wants a divorce. I'm panicking and don't know how to change his mind. In his message, he said that my constant mockery had gone too far and he had asked me to stop many times. He said he'd tried to talk to me about it over and over, but my jokes about his height, stamina, and other personal things really hurt him. He felt diminished and unimportant in our relationship. Now he knows that I mocked him not only when we were alone but also in front of my friends. He also found out I was considering being unfaithful with Stefan. He no longer trusts me and doesn't want to see me again. I tried to explain that it was just a joke, but I couldn't explain why Stefan was involved. I tried to clarify that there was no real connection, and I never wanted to hurt him, but I'm completely desperate and don't know what to do. I went to a therapist and managed to get a session quickly. When I told her what had happened, she looked at me without showing much emotion. She said I needed to handle my own feelings and that I couldn't force Jonathan to come back. He'll do what's best for him. She asked me why I treated him the way I did and why I mocked him in front of friends. I couldn't give her a good answer. She even asked if I despised or looked down on him for some reason, but I couldn't figure out why I behaved that way. It was like something deep inside me had been triggered, but I couldn't find the source. To all of you who have given advice, I realize now I've messed up. I never thought Jonathan would take things so badly. I don't believe I cross a line with my jokes, and I think there's a difference between joking and mocking. I'm trying to keep my spirits up, but it's really hard. It's been several days since my last post, and I still haven't heard anything from Jonathan. I've sent numerous messages, his emails, and made countless phone calls, but he refuses to respond. His silence only fuels my frustration and desperation. I can understand why he's completely ignoring me without offering any explanation. It feels like a personal betrayal. Why can't he simply tell me what's going on? I have to admit I did something incredibly foolish last night. Overwhelmed by emotions and loneliness after an intense day, I made the mistake of reaching out to Stefan again. We ended up meeting, intending just to talk, but I now see how wrong it was. I had been seeking comfort and understanding, but instead, I made things far worse. My actions have only validated Jonathan's doubts and caused him even more pain. I feel deeply ashamed of myself. I'm not only upset with Jonathan for refusing to communicate, but I'm also angry at myself for behaving so recklessly. I'm stuck, unsure how to repair my marriage while grappling with guilt and frustration. I feel trapped in a cycle of regret and uncertainty, unable to figure out the next step or whether our relationship can even be salvaged. I need help to understand what to do next. It feels like I'm in a dark, endless tunnel, unsure how to find my way out. Any advice or support would mean the world to me right now. One person commented, "Is this how you treat someone you're supposed to love? You've been belittling him for years, and then when he finally notices and decides he's had enough, you bring another man into your shared life? Don't you see that the problem lies with you? Honestly, I hope he moves forward and leaves you." Another remarked, "Your behavior is beyond belief. You really need to seek professional help. If he were to forgive you, what guarantee is there that things wouldn't repeat if another conflict arose? You both need to go your separate ways so you can focus on working on yourself." The divorce papers arrived today, 3 weeks after Jonathan left. I haven't spoken to him directly since the day he walked out. Our communication has been limited to occasional texts. His lawyer contacted me to ask if I had hired my own representation. When I mentioned that I would arrange for one, I asked if he could pass along a request for Jonathan to call me. The lawyer replied that he would deliver the message but wouldn't pressure him to comply. Now, everyone knows what happened and I face widespread judgment. Even the friends who used to laugh at my jokes have distanced themselves. Their partners are furious, issuing ultimatums, as many of them no longer feel secure in their relationships. Lisa, the one who mentioned Stefan, is also facing a divorce after her husband found out about everything, likely because Jonathan informed him. I'm waiting for the court hearing. Jonathan won't be there. His lawyer will handle everything on his behalf. I feel completely alone despite all my attempts to explain myself and mend things. It seems every effort only makes the situation worse. Looking back, I see how my behavior created a divide between us, a wall so high I don't know how to break it down. I miss him more than words can say, and the thought of facing life without him terrifies me. My therapist has been helping me navigate my emotions, but the pain of losing him is overwhelming. I understand now that I need to work on myself and examine the reasons behind my actions, but I'm not sure it will make any difference to what's already been lost. Everything has now been finalized. I haven't seen or heard from him at all. His lawyer informed me that Jonathan gave him full authority to handle all legal matters, so he doesn't need to be involved directly. I don't know where he is or what he's doing. When I tried reaching out to his workplace, they told me he no longer works there and wouldn't provide any details about his new position. Since the company is large with numerous branches, he could be anywhere now. His family and friends have cut ties with me entirely. When I call, they either hang up or don't answer. I've stopped trying. Therapy has been helpful in giving me insight into my mistakes, and it's made me want to apologize to him even more. I've chosen to remain single, avoiding Stefan completely. Right now, I'm living in solitude with no desire to pursue any new relationships. Although my crying spells have lessened, I still feel depressed and isolated. I've tried making new friends, but the bonds don't compare to the ones I've lost. I didn't plan on sharing any more updates, but I saw him today as I was driving past his parents' house. He stepped outside with a woman I didn't recognize. She was young, strikingly beautiful and tall. She smiled at him, and my heart broke. I couldn't stop myself from crying, even as cars surrounded me on the road. It's been over a year since he left, and this was the first time I'd seen him. I thought I'd moved on, but seeing him proved otherwise. It's clear that he has, though. If you enjoyed this story, please consider subscribing and giving it a thumbs up. Take care of yourself and live your best life.